Paul Alsides. I'm with Keller Williams Premier Realty. Welcome back to Insights by Alsides. Today we're going to be chatting about step 3, which is talking about negotiating an offer and making an earnest money deposit. So briefly, let's recap what we already learned. And number 1 is we talked about hiring that agent, getting pre-approved with the loan officer, looking at homes for sale, and then we talked about writing a purchase offer. So the offer is written. The seller's agreeing to work with you. Now, but there's maybe some terms or conditions he's not comfortable with, or maybe it doesn't work for him. Let's go back to $199.9, and I understand if you're working at $399, but let's just use that because that's simpler math for me. So $199.9, but you offered maybe $195, and he's saying, and you're asking for 3% closing cost. So really, if you're offering $199.9, that 3% closing cost is about $6,000. So if you offered him $195, it's really a $189 net to the seller. Does that make sense? $189 net. So the seller goes, I'm agreeing to work with you, but I don't like your offer price. I want $199.9. Oh, and by the way, I don't want to close March 30th. I'd rather close April 30th. So you have a couple choices. You can accept his counter just the way he's presenting it to you, or you can say, no, why don't we counter the counter? I kind of like to use ping pong. You made the offer as ping, he made the offer as pong, you come back maybe with another ping. So you offer $195 with 3% closing costs, closing March 30th. He comes back and says he wants $199.9, but he wants to close April 30th. You can say, okay, the April 30th maybe works for me, but do you want to pay the $199.9? Maybe you counter the counter. Maybe you go $197.5. Now keep in mind, your agent's going to be negotiating for you, and they're skilled. This is what we do to make sure that he knows the comparables that you paid have the true value. But again, if all the comparables are in the low 190s and you're going to pay $197 or $199, in the back of your mind, will it appraise? But that's, of course, another issue we'll talk about later. So countering the offer. Counter the counter. You come back at $197.5. He maybe plays hardball and says $199.9, but understand, if he's only been on the market a week or less, he's probably going to get his $199.9. So that's kind of it, talking about negotiating the offer, and we're going to go to step 6 next. Okay, now going back to step number 6, which is making the earnest money deposit. So when you made the offer, you wrote a $2,000 check approximately, because it's 1% of the sales price, and your realtor's hanging on to it until the purchase agreement, okay, is finalized, meaning that the seller's accepted it. So sometimes your realtor may hang on to it because of there's certain contingencies in the purchase agreement, or he just may turn it over to the listing agent right away. But keep in mind though, it's earnest money, showing earnest, okay? So, but there's still some contingencies that must be met, and if they're not met, your earnest money gets refunded. So let's go over a couple of those real quickly. The financing is the number 1 thing. You got pre-approved, your lender says you're good to go. Now, that means you're good, so as we talk about that, we talked about lending earlier. Don't go out and buy a new refrigerator, a new car, because that's going to throw the ratios off and you're not going to be approved. So you got to get financing. If you don't get financing, you get your earnest money back. The other one's the inspection. You get a private inspection, and of course, they're minor things which aren't going to be a big deal, but there's major things. Let's just use an example as the furnace is at its end of its useful life, and we know it's about right around $4 to $5 grand to replace that. The seller says, I'm not going to do it. And you have a choice. You say, you know what, if you're not going to do it, I'm backing out of the purchase agreement. You get your earnest money back. Or maybe you negotiate it, and continue with the purchase. Okay. The last piece is the appraisal. Now, you agree to pay $199.9 for the house. In the back of your mind, you're thinking maybe it's worth $195. And maybe your realtor's thinking the same thing. Maybe the comps only show $192, but you paid $199.9. So it appraises for $195. That's the bank telling the property itself, hey, here's all the comparables, $195 is the sales price. You get to purchase that house for $195, provided that the seller agrees to sell it to you for that price. Now, he doesn't have to, he or she does not have to do that, but obviously would serve their best interest because truly that's what the property is worth. So those are 3 examples of how you can get your earnest money back. My name is Paul Alsides. I'm with Keller Williams Premier Realty. Thank you for listening to Insights by Alsides. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me directly by cell phone or text me 612-701-8711. Thank you, and I'll talk to you soon.